New questions after a weekend of ICE actions, including deporting a mother with young children. The children are U.S. citizens. Let me play what Tom Homan said just moments ago.
Caroline, if border crossings are at a record low, why should it still be considered an emergency?
It's because of what has happened on the last administration. We got to ensure that not 1 ounce of fentanyl comes across the border to kill Americans. The president has declared the cartels in Mexico a terrorist organization along with MS-13 TDA. They've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. It's an emergency till we shut it down. It's an emergency till the cartels are wiped off the face of this earth. President Trump's committed to saving every life. Now, I just mentioned gotaways 38 yesterday. Who are the gotaways? Where do they come from? We had over 2 million gotaways under Joe Biden's administration. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Under the Biden administration, you pay a cartel this amount of money to cross the border. Cartel's job ends at the border. Just turn yourself in a green uniform. Get released in 24 hours. Get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice. Get a free hotel room. Get 3 meals a day. Get free medical care. Get work authorization in 90 to 120 days, which is the real reason they came here. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to pay.
Civil rights groups say last week's deportations included 3 American children, all U.S. citizens. One of them is battling cancer. Let's go to CNN's Priscilla Alvarez. She's joining us from the White House right now. Priscilla, you were at that briefing. What did Tom Homan say this morning?
Well, Wolf, the White House is certainly highlighting the progress that they have made and say they have made along the U.S.-Mexico border, where the numbers have plummeted over recent months. But of course, as you just mentioned, all of this is happening against the backdrop of what we are learning about 3 U.S. citizen children who were sent back to Honduras with their mothers. Now, these are 2 separate cases. This is in both cases, according to court filings, these mothers have been going to routine ICE check-ins when they were detained and then later removed to Honduras. Now, when that occurred, when they were detained, they were given the option to be removed with their children, and they opted for that. But the attorneys in these cases say that there was very little time to make any decisions or have conversations with relatives. And so they are raising the alarm again about the lack of due process. Now, when I asked the White House border czar about this, he said again that this was the decision of the mothers. Take a listen.
If you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. This was a parental decision. Parenting 101. The mothers made that choice.
Now, if you recall, the White House border czar was asked about this before President Trump took office, in which he said that there wouldn't be family separation, rather the families would be removed together. Now, I did also ask about the number of deportations so far under this administration. He said there were 139,000. Now, that is slightly less than the Biden administration at the same time last year, but the difference being that there are far less border crossings, therefore less easy repatriations. Rather, the administration still moving forward and moving forward quickly when it comes to deportations of those who are arrested in the interior of the United States. Wolf.
All right, Priscilla, thank you. Priscilla Alvarez reporting for us. Appreciate it.
Over the weekend, ICE announced that the agency arrested nearly 800 people over 4 days with the help of state law enforcement officials in Florida. They're describing it as a, quote, massive multi-agency immigration enforcement crackdown. Joining us now, Executive Director of the Florida Immigrant Coalition, Tessa Pettit. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what have you learned about these arrests that happened? Almost 1,000 people arrested over 4 days.
What we've learned from family members is that a lot of people who've been arrested are in limbo in our immigration system because the immigration system has a lot of flaws. Some folks have temporary status, and we've seen the data given by ICE that maybe 300 out of the 800 were actually had a final order of deportation. So, which means that most likely two-thirds of the folks who were arrested are people who are in some form of process, um, and are certainly not criminals.
So you're saying about, most of the people that were arrested, because you said about 300 had actual deportation orders, and would be deported at some point in time. Some of them going through the system. What can they do at this point? Once you're deported, it's over, correct?
Once people are deported, it's practically over. The system does provide uh, legal avenues for folks, if they can prove that they were wrongly deported, to return into the United States. That is at a time when there was due process in our immigration system. We're hoping that a lot of the people who were arrested are actually given due process before they are deported.
Is there any indication that there are U.S. citizens potentially that have been grabbed up in this group of people? Because we have now seen that there were children that were deported, and that there was a man who was in the country legally that was accidentally deported, according to the administration itself, and there was a battle over that in court. What do you know about the sort of legal status of some of these individuals?
Right now, we don't have any information about the legal status of these individuals. We've seen how ICE have made multiple errors because they are rushing through a process that actually, if done properly, would not treat people in such an inhumane way. We hope that they're not only not undocumented, not U.S. citizens in those that were picked up, but we also hope that everyone who was actually detained is given a chance to have access to a lawyer and to prove their right to be in this country.
I'm curious to get your take on hearing from the president when it comes to accidentally sending someone, deporting someone, or the fact that children who are U.S. citizens were deported, one of them having stage 4 cancer. His response to The Atlantic in an interview that he has just done and that has just been published was, well, sometimes mistakes are made. What is your response to that?
Um, I am from Haiti. I can tell you one thing. Once you start making it okay for one life to not matter, it quickly, it quickly becomes everybody's habit for every life to stop having any form of value. I would warn America not to fall into that trap of being inhumane or dividing people based on their country of origin to decide whether or not they are worth a fight.
Thank you so much. And sac passe. Tessa Pettit, thank you. Appreciate you.
Senator, there was an op-ed that you wrote with some of your fellow members and members of the Massachusetts delegation. You actually went to visit the Tufts University graduate student who's been detained, apparently over an op-ed she wrote that was seen as pro-Palestinian in the Tufts newspaper. What did you learn during this visit?
Well, I learned that Rümeysa Öztürk was just abducted off the streets of Somerville, Massachusetts, where she was a graduate student at Tufts University, that she was moved then to New Hampshire, to Vermont, to Atlanta, and then out to the remotest parts of Louisiana, all the while being denied her ability to talk to her attorney, all of the while being chained or handcuffed during that journey, and all of the while not even being that you could see for her arrest. So all of this is a fundamental violation, first of all, of her First Amendment rights of free speech and freedom of the press, because she's charged with writing an op-ed in the Tufts University newspaper, and she's being denied Fifth Amendment rights of due process so that she can have a lawyer, so that she can know what she's being charged with. Thus far, no crime has been alleged that she has committed. There's no evidence which has been presented to anything that she has done wrong, and it's just a further extension of the unconstitutional, illegal, and undemocratic actions which Trump is engaging in. And she is in a prison with asthma that she has and not getting the full treatment which she needs. The food is inadequate. They don't give the prisoners the blankets which they need when it's too cold at night. And all of this is part of a pattern of fundamental authoritarianism which Trump is trying to engage in and make a part of our country. Every person, every American should be afraid that this president believes that he can just short circuit constitutional rights whenever he feels like it.
Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.